What's good, family? Welcome back to the Zone for Game Lovers, otherwise known as Zone 4GL or the Zone for short. My name is Chase, as I mentioned in the channel trailer, and I'm excited about this series. Now, I don't know if you were excited about the intro, but I certainly am, mainly because this is a year and a half in the making. And you're probably thinking, like, why would it take you a year and a half to actually create a vid? And that's not the case. I'm mainly talking about the journey to get here. And so this started back in February of 2020. This is like right before the pandemic hit, whereby my girlfriend at the time, she was getting into gaming and we were playing a lot of FIFA, and she said she wanted to play 2K. So for Valentine's Day, I ended up going to get her a Switch as well as NBA2K20. And so we started playing that, and that's what kind of kicked everything off. So what I'm going to walk through in today's video is really explain how this came to be and what I'm expecting to do for this series over the next couple of months. And now, going back to February of 2020, when we were starting to play NBA 2K, and this is the very first 2K I've ever played, so unlike a lot of content creators that you'll see on YouTube, they talk about either, I think it's NBA 2016 or 2017 being the best, probably 16. I was not playing 2K at that point in time. So being that this was my first go around, my girlfriend, she created Chase and I created Raphael. And so we kind of played with it to make it seem like these were our kids, to make this more interesting. And she had her style of play with Chase. I had my style of play with Raphael. So you can see Chase, he is a small forward shooting guard, whereas Raphael is a shooting guard point guard. And so the way I designed Raphael is the way I used to play basketball when I played basketball, in that I usually stayed around the perimeter and I would mainly defend. My main focus was defending because that's what I was good at. And if I did do any types of shooting, it would be in the mid-range to the perimeter. I wouldn't go to the interior. So Raphael plays a lot like that. And you can see that in his grading across the attributes going to the right. Whereas Chase, he's more versatile in that he's able to do more playmaking. He also stays on the perimeter, but he's also more efficient with his shooting compared to Raphael. Raphael's probably the more defensive out of everybody. And so while I was trying to learn how to play 2K, I came across a lot of the YouTubers that I follow today, starting off with Hoodie Sean. And watching him showed me that there's a lot that I could potentially do in 2K that I wasn't able to do with Raphael. And from Hoodie Sean, I ended up going to YG the Beast, which then led me to Juice Man. And pretty much these three guys, they knock things out the park when it comes to their content as well as their gameplay, which helped me realize that there's a lot more that could be done with the 2K builds if you build it correctly. So to that point, I would say Raphael is probably the most balanced out of all three of the brothers, compared to Chase and Miles, where they're more offensively oriented compared to Raphael, where he's able to do a mixture of both and he could play his role very well, but he could dominate if he really wants to. So that being said, after watching Hoodie Sean, YG the Beast, and Juice Man, I created Miles, who would be the more athletic version of me if I were to be able to play basketball that well. Instead, I shifted gears in high school to focus on track and field. That was my thing, mainly doing the jumping events. And so as a result, you'll see that compared to Raphael as well as Chase, Miles is a better shooter. He's also a better playmaker compared to the two of them. However, you will see that they all have the same potential, but when it comes to IQ, Raphael is probably the more intelligent when it comes to basketball IQ compared to the other two. So why do I say this? Why go about creating three different players? And so, being this is the first time I was playing 2K, I always had this hankering to like go into the park with my girlfriend, but she didn't want me to buy another Xbox at that point in time. So I was thinking it would be cool to have all of these players in one universe, which led me to KOT4Q, who does a lot of simulations, and he taught me how to actually do things in my league such as bringing in players, how to do trades, how to set up the rosters, and figure out different types of lineups that could be used to ultimately build a team and bring it to a championship. And so realizing this, I was like, okay, wouldn't it be cool if we had Axel Walden? So the version that I have here is my version of Axel. The attributes are all the same as the character that was in 2K20. The only difference is the face, really, mainly because when 2K21 came out, I was really stressing myself on trying to get the Axel that was in the game and trying to transport that over into 2K21. But then I quickly realized that you can't do that. Pretty much whatever you created for 2K20, you would have to rebuild into 2K21. So being that I was rebuilding it anyway, I said, bump that. I'm going to make Axel my version. I'll be able to recreate the face if I ever need to, because I don't need the face scan anymore. And so with 2K21, you have this new storyline, which introduced Hendrix Cobb, which I thought was pretty interesting. A lot of people didn't like it. They thought it was cheesy. But for me, in my head, with what I was trying to do, I thought it was cool because now this added a new character to the story that I wanted for Miles. And so as a result, I started playing with Miles predominantly compared to Raphael. And I never really played with Chase until what I'll be doing with this series. But Axel is Miles' teammate on the Pelicans. And then I also recreated Hendrix Cobb to be that high school rival that you have in the storyline. So as you can see, the face is not going to be the same as what was in the actual game, but all of the attributes associated with Hendrix are the same as what's in the game. And then finally, I created Andre Redding, who is a spin-off or a spoof of Red Nolan that's also in the story. He went to college with your character, assuming you went down that path instead of going straight to the G League for those of you that are on next gen. But for those of us that are on current gen, and if you go straight through college, as you should, then you would play with Red Nolan a lot of the time. And so Andre Redding is just my take on the character, just to keep the storyline going. And so having built these 6 players, I then came across a few additional channels that sparked my interest in creating something for this world that I envisioned. Because as a kid, I used to always do a lot of creative things. I used to draw a lot. I used to write a lot. And so this was definitely in my wheelhouse to see how I could create a universe around these 6 players. And so KOT4Q made mention of the Goods, and Hoodie Sean at the time made mention of the infamous NY, who are both modders in different realms. And so the infamous NY, he is, in my mind, famous for recreating a lot of high school players and creating the whole high school world. And he goes really in depth with the work that he does, so feel free to check his channel out. As well as the Good, he does a lot of PC modding to create like realistic environments for 2K that you can use on your PC, which I thought was very cool. And then I ended up coming across Click, who is very similar to KOT4Q in that they do a lot of rebuilds and simulations, but they're different at the same time in their approach of doing things, as well as the content that is being created. And so there are a lot of cool simulations that KOT4Q as well as Click that they do that made me think, okay, this is in the realm of possibility. And so as part of that, KOT4Q made mention of a completely fictional roster that was created by Unique Mazik, which led me down another path. And so watching that series, I thought it was really cool how Unique Mazik created the league, the approach that he used, as well as the content that was created. The only downside to that is that the league that he created was for the PS5. So if I had a PS5, if I won the Hunger Games at that point in time, right, I would have just taken these 6 characters and I would have added them to that league and I would have been done. However, being that I'm on the Xbox current gen, that's not possible because you can't share across the platform. So as a result, I was like, let me just try and recreate a universe for these players and take it from there. And so to that point, I do want to highlight all of the content creators on YouTube that I follow. Check them out. I personally appreciate them because, one, they helped me through my breakup that happened subsequently after February 2020. And it inspired me to go down this path and recreate this environment or this universe for these 6 players. And so what this series will be is just that. I'm going to take these 6 players and I'm going to add them to a fictional league, and then take it from there. So I'm actually in the process of building all of the teams from scratch with all of their players, just as Unique Mazik did. I'm not going to change any of the team names, so they're going to be on the exact teams that exist in the NBA today. A lot of the players are going to be on the teams that they were in my previous My League that I've been playing with for the past year. So, for example, Andre is going to be on the Trailblazers. Hendrix Cobb is going to be on the Hornets. Raphael is going to be on the Lakers. Axel and Miles, they're both on the Pelicans. And Chase is going to be on the Mavericks. Now, you'll see that the overalls are pretty low compared to most players that you'll see from YouTube creators. And that's mainly because I take down all of the intangibles, so you can get down to the raw overall that they would be. So in this case, Chase is the highest overall compared to the other characters, especially the other 2 brothers. But in my opinion, I think Miles is the best when it comes to offense, at the very least. When it comes to defense, he's the weakest. But I'm excited to get this series going. And so the course of the next month or 2, the intention is to push out some content to show you what these teams are, what the league is looking like, and some of the teams, and do some highlights of those teams, and just walk you through what this league will look like in preparation for the new NBA season. Now, as I mentioned before, this is the Xbox current gen, so a lot of the screens, features, they're going to be the antiquated ones. And also, when I start up the season, it's going to say 2020 instead of 2021. But if you made it this far in the video, feel free to like the video first and foremost. I appreciate you spending your time watching this. And secondly, leave a comment. Let me know what you're curious about seeing and give me some ideas as far as what content you'd like to see so I could create that. And then finally, subscribe and be on the lookout for the new content that's coming out over the next couple of weeks, as well as the next couple of months related to 2K. And then I also plan to drop some additional content around the other games that are coming up in Q4 of this year on this channel. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.